Hello, you guys. I felt really called to share a really important message. I feel like it's the message that will lead us through 2020, and it came to me during this eclipse and during my reflections on why it is that I feel so good and grounded and calm during the most intense eclipse that we have literally this week, but it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. And I think what it really brought to us was the vibration and frequency for us to experience how it feels to initiate a completely new way of relating to our emotional world, right? Which is really ruled by Cancer, and it leads us back to arriving back home within our heart, which is basically arriving back home within our soul. And the reason I say that is because I was meditating and all of a sudden I had this vision of the heart chakra, or just the heart in general, aligning with different frequencies depending on the heartbeat that we have and depending on how much we feel connected to our heart. Meaning that I believe that we have a couple of potentials that we can line up with right now as a collective, as humanity, as individual, as souls. And the way we align with the right frequency is really based on the heartbeat that we have, right, on our heart. So we have to stay connected to our own frequency in order to align with the perfect frequency for us, and then ultimately also with the right frequency for the collective, which doesn't mean that you can do anything right or wrong based on how much are you connected with your heart, obviously. And the reason I say that is because I see the heart as sort of like the gap, not a gap, but the heart basically bridges the gap between the crown chakra or the upper chakras and the lower chakras. In the middle you have the heart, you have the center, right? That's why you have to center yourself. I don't even like the word grounding yourself. You have to center yourself. You have to come back home to yourself, right? That's something I've been saying a lot anyways. And when you arrive home within yourself, you feel safe, you feel protected, you feel love, you feel just certainty. It's really, it has to be felt. It can't and can hardly be explained because it will look different for anyone. And the reason I say that is because Mars enters Aries this week and we have a lot of really challenging stuff going on astrologically, and I feel like 2020 is a big test for every soul. And the test really is about, no matter what's going on outside of you, can you remain centered? Can you stay connected to your own heartbeat? Or do you let, someone else play the beat for you, right? Do you get interrupted by someone else playing another song, whatever it is? Can you stay true to your own song and your own rhythm? I think that's the most important thing we have to learn. And based on how well we master that lesson, so to speak, we will be ready for the Aquarian age or not. Or basically different variations of how that could look like, right? Because one thing that I even said in a recent post, I feel like the majority of humanity is not really ready to live without the structures of the world, to live without the government, to live without all of that. Why? Because just imagine, we wouldn't have laws, we wouldn't have rules. Everyone could just do what they want. They have all of the freedom. It's like a child that all of a sudden has all of the freedom. And it really depends on the child if they take this freedom with responsibility, or if they just break all the rules and do completely bullshit ego shit, basically, right? And that's why we have to stay centered, because the more centered we are, the more we are connected to love, the more we won't abuse our freedom, right? We won't abuse our freedom. We naturally want to do things that won't harm others, right? And if we are not centered, if we are not connected, we are not ready for that. We still need the system, we still need the quote-unquote matrix, because otherwise, we would harm others. And we have to see that really clearly. So it's really the test for humanity, I feel like, if we can remain centered and in our heart and in alignment with the soul, with our soul, because then we also realize that, everything you do to someone else, you actually do to yourself, because you feel it in your core that you are connected to that individual that you harm right now. So how could you harm yourself, right? That's why a lot of people say, if you harm someone else, you harm yourself. That's true. It's true, because we are all connected. And if we don't see that, if we still believe in separation, then we won't be ready for the quote-unquote golden Aquarian age, which is a potential that we can all tap into based on the heartbeat, right? And you can, again, align with that potential timeline, however you want to say that, if you work on being true and being connected, staying connected with your own rhythm. And that's the rhythm of your heart. That's why it has been so important for all of us to have that safe space at home in 2020 to really, really investigate and understand, okay, what is my own rhythm, right? And you can even see that from a human design perspective, because when we are in isolation and lockdown, we have less access to other people's energies, frequencies, right? So we are less distracted from our own frequency. Obviously, we still are impacted by, social media, by everything, right? When we have contact over whatever platform with other people, but it's not the physical interaction. It's not as much, right? It just like takes away one part of the distraction from our soul. And hopefully we all used it in a really powerful way to find our own rhythm, right? To get back to our own rhythm. Because even the astrology was supporting us all the time, right? And still supporting us. There's always obviously a highest and a lowest expression to every single transit, everything that is happening in the world as well. But that just goes to show that you can also tap into the, your own frequency, right? Which hopefully is the highest expression of yourself. It's for everyone, but some people don't believe in it, right? Or if you get distracted, right? And live someone else's story, sing someone else's song, however you want to say that. So what this eclipse, I feel like, really brought to us, because again, it's also at 0 degrees of Aquarius, right? Saturn 0 degrees of Aquarius, not a surprise, during this eclipse. So it was really energy that came into our field that made us feel or experience how it feels like to be connected to your heart, to be connected to unconditional love, to be connected to your own rhythm, right? And our task right now is really to remember and to anchor in that frequency that we have experienced over this weekend, perhaps maybe, even today, maybe tomorrow, depending on, how open you are to frequencies. And if you download this frequency into your system, you will have to understand that it's already there, so you can always go back to that frequency. You just have to tap it back into it. So it's almost like a gift from the universe to show us like what's possible, right? Because when there is the next, crisis coming, or when stuff outside of you basically is distracting you again, you can remind yourself of that frequency and you can tap it back into it. And that will automatically reconnect you to your core, to your center, right? And I invite you to do that consciously every time you feel really at peace, really blissful, really loving. We have these days where we feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so amazing. And then we have these days where we feel like shit, right? But on these days we feel like shit, we know that we already have been in that frequency of feeling blissful. So we can tap back into it, right? It's just a matter of how much are we connected to our heartbeat, right? And that's why I say, like, go into your heart, because you align with the right frequency, the right timeline for you through your heart. That's what it is. And I wanted to share that because, the chances are that you feel this amazing energy that we have on this weekend. And I was not expecting that, literally not expecting it. I was preparing for the worst weekend of my life, kind of. I actually thought that, it would be challenging. And maybe that's still coming, because I feel like the universe will still test me and see, okay, is she able to shift back into that frequency, no matter what's going on outside of her? And that's a test that I feel like is happening for humanity at large, especially when Mars enters Aries this week and we have a lot, the next eclipse upcoming. I want you to remind yourself of what I said in this video and to consciously practice that. It's, you can't fail the test. If you fail once, your life won't be ruined. I want you to take the pressure off of you, but I want you to see that every time you practice that, you will be able to shift quicker and quicker and quicker and go back into your center quicker and quicker. It's almost like, practicing for the finale, so to speak, which I don't know what the finale could be. I have an idea, but I just wanted to share that message. I think that's more important than sharing potential timelines or whatever. So definitely let me know what you felt this weekend, how you feel about this video, about the insights, and I'm excited to have a conversation in the comments.